what I really want to try to achieve here is to make Mars seem possible, make it seem as though it's something that we can do in our lifetimes, and that you can go. And is there really a way that anyone could go if they wanted to? I think that's really the important thing. So, I mean, first of all, why go anywhere, right? I think there are really two fundamental paths. History is going to bifurcate along two directions. One path is we stay on Earth forever, and then there will be some eventual extinction event. I don't have an immediate doomsday prophecy, but it's eventually, history suggests there will be some doomsday event. The alternative is to become a spacefaring civilization and a multi-planet species, which I hope you would agree that is the right way to go. So our options for becoming a multi-planet species within our solar system are limited. We have, in terms of nearby options, we've got Venus, but Venus is a super high pressure hot acid bath. So that would be a tricky one. Venus is not at all like the goddess. This is not in no way similar to the actual goddess. So it's really difficult to make things work on Venus. Mercury is also way too close to the sun. We could go potentially on one of the moons of Jupiter or Saturn, but those are quite far out, much further from the sun, a lot harder to get to. It really leaves us with one option if we want to become a multi-planet civilization, and that's Mars. We could conceivably go to our moon, and I certainly have nothing against going to the moon, but I think it's challenging to create become multi-planetary on the moon because it's much smaller than a planet. It doesn't have any atmosphere. It's not as resource-rich as Mars. It's got a 28-day day, whereas the Mars day is 24.5 hours. And in general, Mars is far better suited to ultimately scale up to be a self-sustaining civilization. So just to give some comparison between the two planets, that they're remarkably close in a lot of ways. In fact, we now believe that early Mars was a lot like Earth. And in fact, if we could warm Mars up, we would once again have a thick atmosphere and liquid oceans. So, but where things are right now, Mars is about half again as far from the sun as Earth. So still decent sunlight. It's a little cold, but we can warm it up. It has a very helpful atmosphere, which, in the case of Mars being primarily CO2 with some nitrogen and argon and a few other trace elements, means that we can grow plants on Mars just by compressing the atmosphere. And it has nitrogen too, which is also very important for growing plants. It would be quite fun to be on Mars because you'd have gravity, which is about 37% that of Earth. So you'd be able to lift heavy things and bound around and have a lot of fun. And the day is remarkably close to that of Earth.
What is Mars? Where it came from? Why do we want to go there? Today we're going to answer 3 important questions. Let's get started. What is Mars and how it is formed? Mars is a terrestrial planet, which means it is a rocky planet that is similar to Earth. It is the 4th planet from the Sun in the solar system. Scientists believe that Mars formed from the same cloud of gas and dust that formed the other inner planets of the solar system, including Earth. This cloud, called the solar nebula, was made up of mostly hydrogen and helium, with smaller amounts of heavier elements like carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen. As the solar nebula cooled and contracted, it began to spin faster and flatten into a disk. In the center of the disk, the Sun formed, and around the Sun the planets formed from the leftover material. Mars formed from the material that was farther away from the Sun, where it was colder. This material was mostly made up of rock and metal as Mars formed, it is believed that it was initially much warmer and had a much thicker atmosphere. With liquid water on its surface, it is thought that over time, its atmosphere was stripped away by solar wind and other processes, leaving the cold and dry planet that we see today. So it's formed with the same materials like Earth. Is there any evidence of life in any kind or form? There is evidence that suggests that Mars may have had suitable for life in the past. For example, scientists have found evidence of past liquid water on the Martian surface, which is a key ingredient for life as we know it. There are also various features on the Martian surface that could have been created by water, such as valleys and channels that resemble those created by rivers and streams on Earth. Additionally, scientists have found clay minerals on Mars that form in the presence of water, indicating that water was once present on the planet. There are also signs that suggests that Mars had a more substantial atmosphere in the past. The current atmosphere of Mars is very thin and not enough to support human life or even microbial life. But the signs point to a past atmosphere that was thicker and able to support liquid water on the surface for extended periods of time. However, it's important to note that no definitive evidence of past or current life on Mars has been found yet. The search for evidence of past or present life on Mars is ongoing, with NASA and other space agencies planning to send new missions to Mars to search for signs of life and to collect samples for study on Earth. Okay, it has some evidence of previous conditions to form a life, but now looks like dead planet. Is Mars a dead planet? It's worth noting that it is possible that microbial life might have existed on Mars in the past, and still could exist today, but it is still unproven. There are also ongoing missions and plans to send spacecrafts to Mars in order to search for any signs of past or present life, such as microbial life. So, it's fair to say that Mars is a dead planet in terms of life as we know it and understand it, but it's still an active subject of research and study.